Final Fantasy is a series everybody knows and loves. But do you know where your favourite job came from? Hey, I'm Admin Naoto, and welcome to Class Compendium, a series where we look into the history and abilities of different job classes within the Final Fantasy games. Today we're looking at the suave jack-of-all-trades clad in crimson. My personal favourite job class, the Red Mage. The Red Mage made its first appearance in the very first Final Fantasy game. It is one of the classes you can select to be a member of the Warriors of Light. It's able to equip most weapons and armour and use up to level 5 magic. Once they gain their class upgrade from Bahamut, they can use the Deathbringer, Defender, Lightbringer, Razor and Vorpal Sword while being able to cast magic up to level 7. This game defined what a Red Mage would be for most of the games to come, a class with massive diversity without being as potent as the dedicated classes. Fighters and monks do more physical damage, and the Red Mage's spellcasting level caused them not to be able to use the most powerful spells such as Holy and Flare, giving the white and black mages more of an edge. Red Mages also didn't have access to the Dia spells either, making white mages much better at taking out undead. As with all classes in the original Final Fantasy, the Red Mage is a good choice, but it will be the most expensive to keep on par, having to pay for spells and the more expensive equipment. Personally, I pretty much always have one Red Mage on my team. I like having that extra diversity that having a third caster can bring, letting me top up my HP with a cure or get a buff up faster, in conjunction with a Black Mage and a White Mage for doing the same thing. Being that they're only a middle-of-the-road class, I'd say, I can only really rate them a 3 out of 5 stars, because they're not stand out in any area, which I mean is their whole character, really. But it does let them down a little bit. In Final Fantasy III, you get access to the Red Mage class from the Wind Crystal, available after doing the first dungeon in the NES version or after defeating Jin in the 3D remakes. As in the first game, they're able to equip a wide range of weapons and armour while being able to cast magic up to level 4 or 5 in the NES and 3D versions respectively. The Red Mage doesn't have the staying power of some other early game jobs though. While the Thief can stay relevant for stealing from bosses, and the other two coloured mages have high magic stats to keep them potent for a while, the Red Mage drops off pretty quick due to mediocre stat growths. While it can learn the Arga tier spells later on, the stats won't be high enough to really back them up. They have a couple of exclusive swords that help them out, but again that's still in the early game. Later on you will want to replace them with a dedicated caster of some kind. I always used to use this class a lot, like all the way into the end game, and it used to really cause me problems, and now I really know why. After researching for this, their stats really limit what they can do. I mean, they're meant to be an early game class, which is understandable. A lot of the classes in this game you are encouraged to ditch for higher powered versions later. But it just makes this class even worse, so I have to give it a 2 out of 5 stars. Unfortunately, you can't keep the cool outfit when you upgrade. In Final Fantasy V, the Red Mage is obtained from the Water Crystal. They once again have access to white and black magic up to level 3. This gives them access to all of the Ara spells, as well as some decent utility spells such as Protect and Raise. They can equip swords as before, but now have access to rods and staves as well, meaning that they can be much more effective with their magical abilities if they trade in their physical offense. Having this extra range of weapons makes them the only class that can boost the power of any element in the game, as they can use rods to boost fire, ice, lightning and poison damage, staves for holy damage, and knives for wind damage. The biggest thing this game does is give the Red Mage its second defining trait, the dual cast ability. This allows the user to cast 2 spells within a single round, which on the Red Mage itself isn't all that great, as it can only cast up to level 3 spells. But this can be used with any class once mastered, meaning you can dual cast Flares with the Black Mage, Holy or Curagas with a White Mage, or even dual Bahamut with the Summoner class. It increases your potency with any casting class by a hell of a lot if you can keep up with the MP cost. However, this does have a large initial cost, requiring you to earn a total of 1,159 AP. This makes it one of the hardest jobs to master in the entire game, behind I think Mimic. This is due to dual cast requiring a massive 999 AP on its own. Is this worth it? Well, personally I'd say yes. Final Fantasy V has a few spots in which you can get decent AP for battle, and they aren't as bad as say Final Fantasy III stat-wise. However, it is a lot of AP that you need to get dual cast, and many people might not want to invest the time into it when they could be making their other classes more powerful. And generally speaking, Final Fantasy V isn't the hardest of the mainline Final Fantasy games, so you can quite easily make it through without dual cast altogether. The game does, however, start a trend with the Red Mage, not necessarily being great in of itself, but because of synergy with other classes, it elevates the Red Mage. I rate Final Fantasy V's Red Mage 3 out of 5 stars. Again, decent utility, but it does what it does. Middle of the road class. This is where I would include Final Fantasy XI, but I haven't played that game, so I can't comment on it really. Same with Final Fantasy XIV, I've only had a little bit of time with that and I haven't actually gotten Red Mage, so I can't say anything, so rip. Let's just continue on to the next one. The Red Battle Mage of Final Fantasy XII Zodiac Age gets a very large range of spells. They have access to the Ara spells from the Black Magic tree, Arga if given the Kukulane summon, as well as access to Curaga and all spells below it from White Magic. This makes them decent damage dealers and healers as well. They also get a large range of support options such as Reflect, Slow, Disable, Immobilize, Bubble and Decoy, granted via the Time Magic and Green Magic licenses. They're also the only class able to use Dark Elemental spells via the Arcane Magic licenses. This also gives them the ultimate fire spell, Ardor, or Ador, I don't know how to pronounce it properly. The only drawback they've really got is they only get one Swiftness license, which means that their ATB rate is pretty slow compared to other classes, but pairing them up with an archer will let them get all 3 anyway, so it's not that much of an issue. This will also unlock all item laws, and you can still boost Ardor with the Burning Bow. This isn't quite as good a combo as say Red and Black Mage, wielding the Fire Rod, but if you want to use Black Mage on another character and only want to use one class per character, it is a great secondary option. They can also be pretty decent physical damage dealers, due to having access to great swords if you give them Ultima or Chaos summons, and they also have maces innately, but great swords are definitely the way to go. Usually, they only have access to Mystic Armor, which boosts magic, so their physical damage is still a little bit iffy, so it is recommended to stick to casting for their main source of damage. If you want to make them more physical attackers though, you can give your Red Mage the Exodus summon, which grants them access to heavy armor, which increases their attack. Honestly, this is one of the best iterations of the Red Mage. Great magic power, great utility with buffs and debuffs. They can pretty much do anything you would want a White or Black Mage to do, as well as having access to pretty much any buff you would also want. While combined with the Archer, or Black Mage, the Red Battle Mage's weaknesses get reduced to pretty much nothing but a large physical hit. It's an excellent class. I have to rate the Red Battle Mage a 5 out of 5 stars. It's just that good in my opinion. In Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, the Red Mage is an exclusive job to the Vera race. They have well-rounded stats between their physical and magic power, meaning that they can deal decent physical damage with their rapiers, while still being fairly capable magical damage dealers and healers. They're also obtainable very early on, only requiring your Vera to master one Fencer A ability. As for spells, they have access to the basic levels of the elemental spells, Fire, Blizzard, Thunder, as well as Cure. They'll also have access to some utility stuff such as Barrier, which is basically Protect and Shell in one spell, as well as some statuses with Sleep and Poison. This makes them pretty capable of shutting down opponents with Sleep, allowing magic users to wail on them while they can't take their turns, or buff is needed. The versatility is only increased by their double cast ability, which while having a high cost to master, is still able to be used while learning it, making this class much better than in Final Fantasy V. This will increase the Red Mage's damage potential, as well as any other magical classes when mastered. They also get access to the Magical Power Plus support skill, which further increases the damage dealt by magic. Double cast is much more useful than just letting you cast 2 spells in this game though. In Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, you have laws that govern what you can do in battle, such as being able to use black magic or a certain element. Double cast, however, is counted as a red magic ability with no element, even if the spell you use comes from another class set or has an element of its own. This is very helpful later on in the game when you can have up to 3 laws restricting you at once, and you don't have the necessary law cards to nullify them. Once again, this is a fantastic class that is made even better by being able to support any other. Dual cast Summon, for example, can be downright broken, being able to start the battle with both Reflect and Auto Regen on your entire team, or being able to use Phoenix to revive multiple of your party members at once and then heal them all up to full with, say, a Curaga. I always use a Red Mage in my playthroughs of this game. I find the utility and ease of access to be very useful, and when combined with the Elementalist class abilities, you can deal very effective elemental damage while also crippling the opposing team with things like Disable, Immobilize and Slow. The only real issue I have is that to use dual cast on another class, it does take a little while to master. But even with all that, I rate Final Fantasy Tactics Advance Red Mage a 4 out of 5 stars. I also have to note that there is a special character that you can recruit in this game, who is already a Red Mage when you recruit her. Her name is Eldina, and she comes with a 3 in 5 chance of joining you after completing a mission with the Elder's Cup equipped. She comes with Barrier and Dual Cast already mastered, so if you want an easy way of using Dual Cast without taking the time, you can recruit her instead. Red Mages in Final Fantasy Tactics A2 are pretty similar to the previous game. Once again, exclusive to the Vera, they have good magic and strength, making them great healers, magic damage dealers, or physical damage dealers. They require an extra ability to be learnt this time round, needing a White Mage A ability as well as a Fencer one, but this doesn't really affect how early you can obtain a Red Mage. The Red Mage can once again learn the base elemental spells and Cure. Barrier has been removed, with Shell and Protect taking its place as separate spells, and the class only gets 1 debuff this time round with Silence. Once again, the double cast ability can be learnt, and it allows you to cast 2 spells in 1 turn as before. This time round though, the Red Mage does have a couple of issues. For one, it's nowhere near as versatile as the first game, due to having lost Sleep, which gave it a pretty decent edge. It also gets hit with a pretty large nerf that all spellcasting classes have in this game, the fact that MP starts at 0 at the start of a battle. Yes, you can gain 10 MP per turn, but this can cause problems when wanting to dual cast, especially in conjunction with more powerful magic such as Summon Magic. You can get around this using the Blood Price ability from the Spellblade job class, but this means that you're using your HP to cast, making you take much more damage than usual, especially with higher cost spells. Lastly, as far as I'm aware, double cast cannot be used to help you fudge the laws in this game, meaning double casting fire spells will still trigger the ban on fire elements, but I'm not 100% sure on that. While there are a lot of nerfs to this class in Final Fantasy Tactics A2, the Red Mage is still pretty useful. Double cast still doubles your magic efficiency even with the cost, and if using Blood Price you can cast a high cost spell and then heal yourself after to mitigate that damage a little bit. I once again use this job class in conjunction with the Elementalist to debilitate foes with slow and immobilize while dealing pretty effective magical damage. I've got to give it 4 out of 5 stars for this one. If I was going to rate this class solely on its battle potential, it would probably be 2 out of 5 stars. Looking at the Bravely Default Red Mage, it's really not that good. Its magic is worse than the dedicated classes due to its worse proficiencies in staves and rods. Meanwhile, its strength is let down by its low stats in that area, even though it has an A in swords. Overall, it makes for a really mediocre battle potential if used just as it would in previous games. However, the Red Mage has one big thing to help it out. It's an ability learnt at level 9 called BP Recovery. This allows the character to gain 2 BP when sustaining a status ailment, allowing for a setup that will let you brave 3 times every single turn, which will increase your damage output significantly. First, you need to make sure you have a Red Mage that can use Isuna and Poison. Equipped with BP Recovery, Group Cast All and Status Ailment Amp. Then equip your other character with BP Recovery and any other skills you would like. Once in battle, you make your Red Mage cast Poison on your party 3 times, and then Isuna on the party. This will leave your Red Mage on 4 BP at the beginning of the turn, but once it goes through, it will raise that back up to 0 or even higher, which will allow all of your party members to brave the 3 times and do whatever they need to do. This will remove pretty much all challenge from the game, as you can just kill the bosses in a couple of rounds, especially in conjunction with the free lunch pirate. But being able to manipulate BP is very powerful, increasing your damage per round. So even though the Red Mage isn't all that useful in regular combat, this, in my opinion, more than makes up for it. I have to give the Bravely Default Red Mage a 5 out of 5 stars, it's just that much of a game breaker. Oh, Bravely Second. You ruined the... well, I mean, didn't ruin the Red Mage, but it is a lot worse. It can no longer do its infinite BP strategy, and its new gimmick takes much longer to be able to use, requiring a class from the penultimate chapter to be able to utilise it. At least I believe it's the penultimate chapter. It's very close to the final boss. The reason it can no longer use its infinite combo is because it no longer has access to poison, or any status ailment for that matter, so you have to utilise it with the skill set from the Patissier job class. To do it now, your Red Mage must have the Confectionery sub-ability, or you must be a Patissier with the Red Magic sub-ability. Actually, you don't even need the Red Magic sub-ability even. All you need with the Confectionery sub-ability is BP Recovery and Items for All. While the rest of the party just has BP Recovery on, you use the Bon Appetit command, which we'll use on the entire party thanks to Items for All, and it will regen their BP just as before. It just takes a lot of extra effort to do so, and frankly speaking, once you've learnt the spells, you don't even need the Red Mage anymore. Its other set requires its legendary skill Chain spell. You can use this in conjunction with MP in a pinch, and inflict them with the Ghost status. So with the Ghost status, they will have 0 HP and can only use spells. This will trigger MP in a pinch, which lets you use magic for free if their HP is below 20%. This means that chain spells can be cast for no cost, letting you use 8 spells on 1 turn for free. So if you have a subclass of, say, the Yokai, where you can use the Aja level of spells, or Summon, or even just Black Mage for their stuff, it's obscenely powerful. Unfortunately, this is expensive, as a legendary skill requires you to already be level 10 in a class, and then gain another 9,999 JP on top, meaning that most people won't have access to it until the post-game, before the bonus boss, where admittedly it can still do a lot of work, but it's a large investment. I've got to rate Bravely Second's version of the Red Mage 3 out of 5 stars. It takes so much more to do what it was good at in the first game, and it's still known better as a combat class to even make up for it. So here I'm just going to give my opinions on the class overall throughout all of the games. Personally, as I said at the start, it is still my favourite job class. The utility and variety of what it can do just helps me out so much just with the way I like to play. But I can see a lot of people might ignore them because either they're too expensive or another class can do what they can do but better. But I think they look cool. They are always there to do something I need in a case that my other spellcasters or my other physical attackers are held up with something else. Especially, I was so surprised when I finally got Zodiac Age and played a red battle mage in that. It is so good. It's not even a jack of all trades, master of none. It's like a jack of all trades, very good at everything. It's amazing. It only made me love this class even more. There are a couple of other games that have red mages in that I've played. Final Fantasy Explorers is one, and I didn't really like it. I kind of stuck with Freelancer for the entirety of that game. In Lightning Returns, you get a garb that is called Red Mage, but it's an early game garb. It's not really that useful. Although you can complete it with an adornment you get later on, giving it a little hat. That's about what I've got to say. I haven't played 11 or 14's Red Mage, and I haven't really played many of the other random little mobile side games that have Red Mages in. Other than that, it's a good class. I really like it a lot. If another game comes in with a job system, like I believe actually they're making a third Bravely game, I just hope they don't make it bad. Especially the Bravely game. I hope they don't make it any worse. But yeah, I mean, those are my opinions on the Red Mage class throughout the games. If you agree with me, great. If you don't, let me know. And if anyone is watching this, let me know what class you'd like me to do next. The very next one I'm going to be doing is Summoner, as it's one of my friend's favourite job classes. But after that, if anyone actually watches this, I will do some of those. Anyway, this has been Class Compendium, and I've been Admin Naoto. I will see you in the next one.